This is one of the most popular woodworking tools in the world right now. Not this one, this one. And yeah, they look just alike because they're made in the same factory. And this one costs about, well, this one costs about $800 less. And if you stick around, I'll tell you how to save about $200 more off of this machine. Let's go. This is the Grizzly 15-inch planer. We're gonna dive into all the features, put it through the paces, but there's a reason why this thing looks just like the Oliver. It's because they're made by the same factory. And this one might actually appeal to more people than the Oliver does because of a few key factors. And we're gonna dive into it. And if you stick around, I'll teach you how I saved $200 on this machine, and you can too. If you'd like to check out any of these planers I show today, I'll link those in the description and the pinned comment, as well as the shop button here on YouTube to help you find them easier. Well, let's dive in. Out of the box, or out of the crate, whatever you want to call it, it's on a pallet here. I was quite impressed with the actual overall build quality just straight away. That thing is a beast, a beast. And there's not a lot to assemble here. All you gotta do is put on the dust chute on the back, and then I'm gonna put on my lightning lock connectors because that's what I'm using in the shop to connect these flex hoses to make it so much easier. If you don't have those, you should get them, link in the description. But overall, out of the box build quality, obviously this thing is massively heavy. The only Grizzly tool I've ever owned or tried was a Grizzly track saw, and I was very underwhelmed. I was very vocal about that, but this, so far, impressive. Just the overall construction. Even the raise and lower action is extremely smooth. We'll go over all the features. Nice metal wheel here to do that with too. And a lot of very cool features packed into this thing at way less than the competition. You are giving up a little bit, but is it enough to matter? We're fixing to find out. I am so excited just to hear this thing run. Let's see what she's got. Yeah, it was right at this time that I realized that there would be no planing today. I didn't realize this plug is a 520 plug. Electricians, let me know the difference in the comments. But basically it has a plug on the left that's sideways. I don't have a cord that fits that. Who does in their shop? If you do, comment. I didn't. And so I could not plane right now. I had to order a new cord that actually has that style plug on it. Now this is a 110 volt motor. I thought I was going to be able to use it on any standard plug or cord that I had, but you have to have this 520. I ordered this on Amazon. Luckily, my shop has those style plugs in here that will accept both. If yours don't though, there is an adapter that you can get on Amazon. I ordered it, it's right here. It adapts the planer's plug to a standard plug. So if you're using extension cords or you're plugging it into a regular outlet, this will adapt it. But man, do I wish Grizzly would have put that in the box. At least put an adapter, or not even use this style plug on this planer, because if you don't know and you order this, you're going to have to get an adapter. It's in the manual, but I didn't read it on the listing because I was just excited and ordered it. Grizzly, if you're watching, we need a plug, or at least put the adapter in the box for the rest of us. Now, let's put this thing to work. So now we're in business. I got this in like 4 days later, 5 days later. So now we can put this thing through the paces and see if it's worth the price. DRO powered on. Before we put this thing through the paces, let's go over the features that are included here. This is, again, one of the most affordable 15-inch planers on the market, and it has a ton of features crammed into this thing. I was extremely surprised by that. First, we have 2 feed rates, a low and a high. You're not supposed to switch this unless the motor is running, so don't just flip it back and forth when it's sitting here. You also have a really nice depth gauge. This is very similar in style to the DeWALT DW735X, which is my favorite depth gauge that of any planer. So this one works extremely similar to that, so I'm very happy to see that. We also have a couple of ways of seeing the depth that we're cutting. We have a manual gauge on the right in both millimeters and in inches, so it doesn't matter which camp you're in, you should be happy, and it's very easy to read. We also have a digital readout right on top. I will say that the digital readout on camera doesn't look like it's coming through as clearly as it is in person. Now, it's not perfect. It's not like perfectly clear like an iPhone or something like that. You can still see the non-illuminated digits on there, but the ones that are lit up are clear and easy to read. And what I love about the digital readouts, I put one on my DeWALT too, is the fact that you can zero this out at any point. What that means is, let's say I was planing down boards and I got them to a certain thickness and I was running a whole bunch of boards through. Well, I started the project and I realized, well, man, I need another one of those boards exactly that thickness. I can always calibrate that to the thickness of the board that I was using and then start planing again and get down to that zero. It's a very, very handy feature to have. This also is switchable from inches to millimeters, and you can turn the display all the way off should you want to. This also has a stock removal light on there. Not really sure what that is, but we'll find out. On top of this machine, we have rollers on the top. So if you're feeding your stock through, a lot of times what I'll do is feed it through and then send it back over the top or lay it up there. That way you can do that. That's a nice feature to have. We also have depth stops that are auto set down here in a turret style, so you can change those from 1 inch, 3/4, half, 1/4, and 3/16 of an inch, and then back again. So if you're planing things down to 1 inch or 3/4 inch, you have a hard stop there so that you don't go too far. The raise and lower is very similar to that of the DW735X. We're on 4 ball screws, 1 on each corner, and it is butter smooth. Like, it is up and down smooth. Every 1 revolution of this wheel is 1/16 of an inch, and they actually have a breakdown in the manual showing you what a 1/4 turn is, half turn, 3/4 turn, and 1 full revolution. So if you're trying to kind of gauge about how much you're going to take off each time, you'll know that just by the 1/4 turn, half, or full, or even 3/4. This does have a spiral cutting head on it, which is, if you don't know, it has multiple teeth on there, carbide teeth. They even send a few replacement teeth. I think this is better than a straight knife version, maybe less better than the helical head version, which we'll talk about and compare it to, because my DeWALT actually has helical head on it. But the stock DeWALT does not. I got mine aftermarket. The stock DeWALT has 3 straight knife blades, and the difference is those knives, if one of them gets chipped, it leaves a line in your wood. You see it every time you plane something. On these helical head or even spiral cutter head, that's not the case. If you get a damaged blade, other blades in the rotation will take care of that. Also inside here, we have 2 feed rollers, in feed and out feed, like a lot of planers have. And then there's also these cool little anti-kickback fingers. So this thing is quite powerful, so you don't want a 2 horsepower motor throwing the board back at you. So I'm glad to see those out there. Not that I've ever had that issue, but sometimes when the rollers get hung on there, it may try to push it back. That's going to help prevent that. And I will say the actual manual is extremely well written. Nice pictures for those of us who don't like reading that much, but it is well written, so I'm glad to see that. Now the capacity of this machine is really large. You're getting 15 wide inches of cutting capacity on here. There's some other capacity things to note here. First, your depth of cut. Up to 6 inches is about an 1/8 inch. If it's a 6-inch board, you don't want to take more than an 1/8 inch off. I don't take that much off, but a lot of times you want to remove minimal amount at each pass. But you can take off a full 1/16 of an inch at 15 inches wide. That's a lot of material coming off of there. The minimum stock thickness you can send through here is 3/16 of an inch. The minimum stock length is 8 inches. So you don't want to be planing anything less than 8 inches. And that's just because of how wide this thing really is. And of course the weight, this sucker weighs 133 pounds. And I believe every pound of it, it is heavy. It is not something you're going to be taking on and off your bench. You want to get this thing somewhere set up. Grizzly actually sells a stand for this thing. If you need it mobile in your shop, that's probably the best way to go. Otherwise, you need to find somewhere to put it because she ain't light. And then just aesthetically, like, this dark green looks good. I like the color of this. Is Grizzlies always this color, or are they not a lighter green? Am I off on that? I think a lot of their stuff's a lighter green. I like this dark green. This looks sharp. I want to hear what she sounds like powered up. I don't know how loud it's going to be. I suspect it's going to be fairly loud, so let's find out. That is not loud at all. I'm sure when the boards start going through there, it will be. That thing is smooth. That surprised me. I thought it was going to be like a DeWALT or the Craftsman or whatever planer you got, like, wah, like loud. Not loud. As a matter of fact, I have a decibel meter here, and we're going to see how loud it is from 2 feet away. Ambient sound, about 32 decibels. Less than 80 decibels. That's not bad. I do see a couple of places for in-feed and out-feed tables. I don't have those. I didn't even see if they were selling those, but I'm assuming they're going to be available just because I can see the mounts, or maybe that's so you can mount your own tables or whatever you need to do there. Let's plane something. Let's put this thing through the paces and see how it's going to actually perform when we're planing different types of wood. First off, I want to plane this common pine. We know pine is fine. Run it through there. I'm getting 0 snipe on here, which is a really good sign. I love to see that. And it's butter smooth. I ran it through on the fast setting as well as on the slower setting. I didn't see any difference here. This is a really, really nicely planed board. Obviously, softwoods are going to be a lot easier. The dust collection on here is an absolute must. If you don't know, I unhooked the dust collection and you can see it stopped up pretty quickly on this pine, which is what I would expect, but there's no actual internal blower on here is what I'm getting at. Like the EW735X has a blower and it'll evacuate those chips. This doesn't seem to have that. You just need some dust collection hooked up, just so you know. You can't just put a bag on it and go. You need something pulling that stuff out of there, which when you have it in there, it works just fine. Next up, some Leopardwood. Not the greatest of results, especially on number 2. It does get a little bit of a tear out on this Leopardwood. This Leopardwood is very, very fragile. It will tear out easily. And so it did in a couple of spots. It's not awful, and it's not something I couldn't overcome, but I would like to see a cleaner cut here. Slowing it down did do a little bit better job. And I tried the old water trick. A lot of times you spray water on boards like this if it's tearing out, and it won't tear out, and it still tore out a little bit. So it's one of those things just to be aware of. If you're working with very, very delicate wood, the spiral head here may be not the greatest. But on bird's eye maple, I ran this through, and it did a phenomenal job. Absolutely flawless, and this even has an appearance like it has bumps all over it when you move it in the light, almost a 3D effect. Absolutely beautiful wood, but it's perfectly smooth, no tear out, no issues at all on this piece of maple. Now on the oak, this is a big old 15-inch wide piece of white oak. I wanted to max this thing out and see what kind of capacity, how it's going to handle it. Zero issues. Going through, of course this is a curved piece, so I had to kind of cheat it through there, but it didn't have any issues at all pulling this piece of oak through there. Done a perfect job. It's perfectly smooth. This isn't actually flat. You can even see a little bit where it planed and where it didn't. But overall, I think this is a really good job on this piece of oak. What surprised me more than anything when I was planing everything is the sound level. It's not loud at all, really. If you use it for an extended period of time, should you wear hearing protection? Of course, any machinery you would need to, but it didn't hurt my ears and it wasn't just overly loud. I think it was like on the slower setting, like right at 90 decibels. And then on the faster setting, I think it hit 95 briefly and then back down to 91, 92. So the decibel level here is better than I expected. I thought it was gonna be super loud, but it's not. Now before we compare this to the Oliver in specs and price, this DeWALT has to come into conversation in my opinion because it is the king of benchtop planers. This is a 13-inch planer and comes stock with 3 cutting knives, in other words straight blades. This is an upgraded version you can buy with a helical head in it from Bird. This one is about $1,600 when you buy it with the head already installed. You can install the head yourself and save a significant amount of money, but it's still going to put it at about $800 or $900 all in. So is it worth getting a $1,300 planer versus this $800 or $900 planer with the helical head? It depends. If you want more capacity, this is the way to go. This thing is just a beast. You have the digital readout pre-installed on here, which is very nice to have. You have the 2 speeds, but the DeWALT also has 2 speeds. It also has the ball screws. This is also lighter weight, so you can move it on and off the bench. This does a very, very good job with the helical head in there. We're talking butter smooth cuts on all types of wood. I haven't had any tear out with any of the woods I've used with this helical head. And that's where you're gonna start running into, is the helical head worth the upgrade? It's really a personal choice. The spiral head does cut better than straight knives, but it doesn't cut as good as helical head, which is why helical heads are more expensive. The DeWALT has a very similar depth gauge, which I absolutely love on both of these. This does have a blower, so it does eject the dust out on its own. So if you just wanted it, what I used to do is pipe a pipe outside and just let it bump. But when I got dust collection, then I collect the dust. Overall, I think the value depends on the capacity that you need and do you want that extra feature of the digital readout and a couple of other niceties here like this roller head on top and all that. But I think for most people who are looking at the DeWALT, they're just going to stick with the 3-blade version, and then that kind of washes out the competition here because this is a better planer at that point in my opinion. But I think if we're just going to compare these stock to like just the way you get them and when you order them, then you're going to give up a lot if you buy this one. First, the 2-inch extra capacity. It's going to matter a lot in a lot of circumstances. Like you see, I'm planing this 15-inch wide piece of oak like it's nothing. It will not fit through this DeWALT. You're also giving up the spiral head because this will come with 3 blades. This also has that digital readout, so you're not getting that on here stock. You can put that on aftermarket. I think we're kind of comparing apples to lemons here, lemon being the yellow, because this is a much different machine than this one, but they're both great. Now, full disclosure, Grizzly offered to send me this a couple of months ago and I declined it. I bought this myself, full price, with my own money, no discounts. The reason I declined it was Oliver also offered to send me their planer But when they offered, I said, if you send me the planer, I'm going to compare it to the Grizzly. And the quote was, well, that changes things. So I decided I'm going to buy this myself, and I'm going to put it through the paces and see if it's worth the price. Now, if we're comparing this to the Oliver, they're made in the same factory. Facts. In the same factory. The only differences is this is 110 volt versus the 220 volt of the Oliver, and the Oliver has the helical head. How much does that matter? Is it $800 difference to you? That depends. You let me know if I need to review the Oliver and compare them head to head. Just comment Oliver and I'll know what you mean. I think for most people, this is going to be just great. You're going to save about $800 if you look at the MSRP price, and the only thing you're giving up is what a lot of people don't have, which is 220 volt in the shop and the helical head. Is it a massive downside? I don't know. And can you buy the helical head and put it in this one? That's a question I would love to know. But you would be saving about $800 if it's at full price. A lot of times the Olivers are around $1,800, so then it's about, what, $500-ish difference. I still think it's a very good value right here in this planer at this price. We might need to break them down full side by side in the shop. Let me know, and if I get enough responses, I'll personally buy the Oliver and put these up against each other. Now, what do I not like about this machine? Very little. First and foremost, Grizzly should at least send an adapter or just change this plug so that we can plug this into normal cables. I'm sure there's a technical electrical reason why they went this way. It's probably something to do with the amperage, or I don't know, nothing about that stuff, but it probably has something to do with that. But at least give us an adapter so I don't have to wait 5 or 6 days for Amazon to deliver my cord so I can actually use the planer. It's very deflating to get the planer in and then not be able to use it. If you're excited to get a new tool in, you're wanting to put it through the paces, and you can't. So that's one of the things I would absolutely change. Another thing that would be great is if it had a blower on it like the 735. This is a different machine. It's set up for different purposes. It's more production level machine versus the DW735X. It's being more of a, it's like prosumer level, I think. And so there is a little bit of a difference there, but I would like to see that. And on the LED display, I would like it to be just a little bit clearer. It does look like you can see the numerals that aren't lit up. It looks like an older digital clock, kind of similar like that. I would like to see that clearer. While I can see it and read it perfectly fine, it would be better, in my opinion, if it was just like the numbers were there or they weren't. Other than that, I don't have hardly anything else to fuss about, because at this price point, it's one of the best priced planers in this size category at 15 inches that you can find on the market. Now, how do you save $200 on this machine? Well, how I did it was I didn't buy it directly from Grizzly, because if you buy it from Grizzly, you're going to pay $200 freight at the time of this filming. But what I did, and what you can too if you hit the View Products button, or if you check the links in the description and pin comment, is buy it from Home Depot, because shipping is free. It does come on a freight truck, so it does take a little bit longer. And the freight delivery guy told me this must be very popular because he was delivering them all the time. Hit that View Products button, get one from Home Depot, and save that $200. If you'd like to see a direct head-to-head competition between this and the Oliver 15-inch, all you have to do is comment the word Oliver on this video, and if I get enough responses and enough interest, I'll buy it myself, bring it on in the shop, and compare these two head-to-head. If you're still uncertain, check out that video right there where I compared the Oliver 13-inch to the DeWALT DW735X. Click in that box to get you the big old virtual fist bump.